What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here in the studio. It is North London Derby week. It is Wednesday, so we've got quite a few days of anticipation building up to the big game on Sunday.
Nervous yet?
No,
Excited?
I'm excited. I really am excited.
Come on.
For the last couple of years, I've been dreading this fixture. I really have. And it's probably not something that one of our commenters in here wants to hear. But yeah, I'm gearing up. I think it's set to be a classic this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the injuries that Arsenal have sustained has given an element of positivity, I think, for a lot of the fans going into this game, that we can actually, do something we haven't done since 2022 under Conte, which is actually beat Arsenal, especially our own stadium, on the run of two straight defeats, which you actually come to think of it, when was the last time we lost two in a row?
Not for a long time.
Because before we lost in 2023, the last defeat was 10 years before that, or 9 years before that.
I'll tell you, the last time we've lost two in a row at home in a North London derby.
And before that, we probably went a while without losing as well. Before that loss, the last time we lost.
God, I can't see here any time that we've lost two in a row. Back to 1989.
1989, wow.
1989, we didn't lose two in a row. I'm saying that's when the records in Flash Score begins. And we haven't lost two in a row ever since then.
So it's a disgrace on this run. It's an absolute disgrace.
Of course it's a disgrace. Of course it's a disgrace. But it's time to put it right this weekend.
We can't let them do three in a row. We cannot let them do three in a row.
What better time, though? Odegaard out. Rice out. Marino, their new signing, who they thought was going to be a first-choice player, out. So, Arsenal have been running their luck with injuries probably ever since Saliba got injured at the back end of 2 seasons ago. And I feel like they haven't really had important players out for a prolonged amount of time. And to have them Rice, Odegaard, Marino, potentially Gabriel Jesus as well, all in one go, I think it's a big loss for them.
It is, but you look at the team that they potentially could still put out, and it's still a very good team. A lot of experience, a lot of quality. You've still got Partey, you've still got Jorginho in there, who's a very experienced player. You've got probably Sterling potentially coming in the front three, who's a dangerous player. So as much as these players will be a big miss for them, I don't see this being like they're going to come up and be rubbish now. It's still going to be a good Arsenal team. It's still a team. Look, they're still favourites. Even with these injuries, they're still favourites going into this game, and you have to respect that. And I think we still have fallibilities, on the counter-attack, defensively, all that kind of stuff. But what really gives me hope isn't necessarily the injuries. Even without the injuries, the reason why I'd still have hope is because of how we played last year against them. I know we lost 3-2. I know it was a really bad defeat at the time. We were 3-0 down going to the second half. But you watch that game back, we were well on top of them that game. We were well in that game. That game could have gone a very different direction if things went differently. Højbjerg scores an own goal. We don't get a penalty and they score from that counter-attack where we should have had a penalty. Obviously, they score another set piece a bit after that, but we've changed how we're doing our set pieces, it looks like, this season. We're defending them in a different way. Hopefully that will stand us in good stead when we're combating with these set pieces. We're going to have Solanke hopefully in the team. We're going to have a Doggy instead of Ben Davis at left back. We're going to have one of Basuma or Bentancur in the 6 rather than having Højbjerg in the 6. We're hopefully, in my opinion, going to have Decky in the midfield. So it's going to be a very different makeup for Spurs. It's going to be much hopefully, I think these fine margins could make a difference when it comes to this game. Adding to the fact they got injuries as well, hopefully that plays into our favour. But I still see Arsenal, being up for this game. They know what a massive opportunity it is to, if they can get a win in this game, that really puts them back on track this season in terms of, their title charge after a draw against Brighton. They did scrape a win against Villa, but they'll see this as if they know if they get a big win in this game, then what a statement that would be.
However, on the other flip side of it, if we do go and beat them and then suddenly they're winless in 2 games with Man City away coming around the corner, how detrimental in this early stage of the season can that be for their title charge?
If we get a win, I think it could be a serious reality check for them. Serious reality check if we get a win, and then going to Man City the next week as well. in terms of how realistic it will be to win the title this season. I think if we can beat them and if we put in a really good performance, I think, I think a lot of Arsenal fans are already complaining about what they haven't done in the window potentially. They've already drawn with Brighton as well. They didn't look so good away to Aston Villa. If we can just get that win, dent their confidence, dent this kind of this feeling they have around the club that they're destined to challenge for another title. We need to give them that reality check this weekend, and that'll be so big. And there's no better place to do it than at our ground.
100%, 100%. And I'm just looking at what an impact those two players specifically have on their team, Rice and Odegaard. I feel like when Odegaard doesn't play, they're not ticking as maybe like he's like kind of the gel, and he always leads the press, and he's such an important player for them. Their captain, he runs the most miles out of everyone in the team. Such a tenacious player, such a creative player. They lose a lot without him in the team. And Declan Rice as well. You saw when Declan Rice went off injured in the game that we played against them last season at the Emirates, right at the start of the season. We ripped them to shreds in that second half when Declan Rice was on the pitch. We made Jorginho go back to the old age pensioners' home. You know what I mean? Like, Bissouma absolutely ran riot on that pitch without Declan Rice. So those two players...
They didn't have Partey, though.
It's true, they didn't have Partey. But as well, like, Thomas Partey, I don't think he's the player he was. And I feel like he needs... a big runner next to him to make up the yards that he can't do anymore. Because I feel like injuries have taken its toll on Thomas Partey. He's good on the ball, but... I do feel like he's lost quite a bit of his legs over the past year. There's a reason why, they don't want to extend that contract. Maybe there's other situations going on in the background as well, like we all know about. But I do take some confidence of them having a double pivot of Partey and Jorginho.
Me too. And I think that's why if they're playing in that midfield with, don't know who they're going to put in the third position to replace Odegaard. They might drop Havertz back, maybe put someone else up front.
Havertz hasn't been good in midfield for them.
He's not. Yeah, he hasn't been the best in midfield. I think we have to be brave and just go with Decky and Maddison. That's what I would do and really go for them, because if they're going to sit in that low block, and if they're going to try and frustrate us, like they did last year, they just dropped down. They dropped down into that low block. They did their best to make sure that they're not giving Son that space that we know that he loves. If we've got Solanke starting up front, we need to make sure that we've got someone like Decky and Maddison together, unlocking that door. And it could leave us a bit open going the other way. But without Odegaard, do I trust that they've got someone to unlock the door in midfield like they would have if he's playing? I don't know. So if we really can just pen them in, press them like we did last season, play those two players, really go for it, that's what I would do. Having
said that, it was Havertz, wasn't it, that played that unbelievable pass that just tore our defence apart to Saka, wasn't it?
He was playing up front, but yeah.
Yeah, he dropped deep, and we should never have let him have that space, that freedom of the central areas, but he's got it in his locker to play those balls, doesn't he?
I mean, that's probably one of the only times I've seen them. But yeah, he clearly does. He got that assist, and it was a really good pass. But then that, in that situation, it left Saka on one-on-one with Ben Davies, didn't it?
True.
And that was always going to be a difficult situation for us. But with the doggy there, not saying, it's still not a dangerous situation, but I think the doggy's better equipped to deal with that than Ben Davies is.
Who was out for us in that game? So we had a doggy out. Was Van de Ven out as well? Or Van de Ven played?
No, our lineup was Vicario in goal, Davies, Van de Ven, Romero, Porro, Højbjerg, Bentancur and Maddison, with Werner, Son and Kulusevski on the right.
So it will be a much improved team, when especially if we need Van de Ven and Solanke to be playing in this game. They are massive for us in this game, particularly, well, both of them I think are just as important at other ends of the pitch. I mean, when you're saying Arsenal are going to defend deep, they're going to stick in their formation and then try and counter on us and the space that we leave, that's where Van de Ven is going to come alive. And we need Dom Solanke, as opposed to his debut, to take his chances. If we take our chances, because we will get chances in this game, if we take our chances, I really believe we go on and win this game.
Yeah, we need him to take his chances, but also we need him to do what Son couldn't do last year, which is get the ball and hold it up and actually physically compete with Gabriel and Saliba. I felt like last game, the last time, Son was, obviously he was good with his pressing and he was getting involved, but as soon as we get the ball to him, and if he's anywhere near Saliba and Gabriel, it's game over. Like they can just win the ball off him, and he can't hold it up, and he's not good with his back to goal. Solanke's a different force. I know I saw Solanke last season give Saliba and Gabriel a real tough game. They struggle to deal with him physically, and that was for a Bournemouth team who aren't going to have the possession that we're going to have. And I think if we can just get Solanke to pen them back a bit, open up that space for the likes of Maddison and Kulusevski to operate in, I think that could really make a big difference. Even if Solanke's not scoring, I think he could really make a big difference to our overall play. I really believe that.
They always say, like, the old cliche that form goes out the window in a North London derby, but I just never feel that's the case. I feel like the form team, usually before the last 2 years, it's always been the home team that has always come out on top, or you never really lost at home. It's usually been a draw or a win. But obviously, last 2 years, Arsenal have been the much better side. So, I mean, that form goes out the window is kind of rubbish, isn't it?
Well, last season, were they the better side? I know they got the results. But obviously, they've been the better side as in the team.
They ran Man City 2 points to the end of the season.
No, I'm not talking about overall. I'm saying in the games.
No, I'm just saying they're saying form goes out the window, and Arsenal were the better team on form, and they won the
I
game.
see what you mean. Yeah. Of course, they were the better team last year. I'm saying in the North London derbies, you could argue we were the better team over both games. But we would, and it didn't go our way.
It's always such a difficult game. Whenever Spurs go to Arsenal, whether Arsenal come to Spurs, even those years when we were mid-table mediocrity, fighting for relegation, all that kind of stuff, we always gave, and that was the Arsenal unbeatables, and we always gave them a big game, always. So I do feel like even in that period, though, we always gave them a good game, but we rarely beat them, didn't we? It was always the form team. Usually, over the course of the 2 games, did come out on top.
If we can just take the lead in this game, I think that'll be so big.
Agreed.
So big, not just chasing them all the time, not always looking to catch up results. If we get the first goal, get the crowd on it, get the fans up for it. If we start early and just get an opening goal, I think that can make the world of difference.
The fans need to be bang up for it, because I felt like you go back to the 3-0 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, that 2-0
2022
under Conte. Like, the fans would just bang up for it. You just went, as soon as you stepped foot on the high road, you knew you were in for a big day. As soon as you knew, and then the news came out with Romero and all the murmuring started going about. Then you got into the stadium and the atmosphere was just insane. As Gary Neville, what did he say? They brutalised the Arsenal team for 90 minutes. And that's what we need again, because I don't think we've seen that kind of an atmosphere in the stadium since then, particularly against Arsenal. And I felt like last year, you go 1-0 down, you go 2, you're 3-0 down by half time, and you're thinking, God, what is it going to happen? We've actually put on a show second half and got 2 goals back, and could have even levelled it up at some stage, but the atmosphere never reached anywhere near the heights of that 3-0 win. So the fans need to play their part massively on the weekend. And I know I'm going to probably say another cliche that they can act as the 12th man, but I really believe that when the Tottenham Stadium is in that kind of mode and the Spurs fans are backing the team 100%, no matter if you go 1-0 down, it doesn't matter. Keep backing the team, keep singing up for the lads, and they'll buckle to the pressure. They will. We've seen it before.
100%. Look, as much as they're a great team, they're not Man City. They are not Man City. They are beatable. We can get at them.
As much as they like to lead us to believe that they are Man City.
They're not Man City. This is a team who can be got at. This is a team, Aston Villa showed you can create really good chances against them if you put them under pressure. And in fact, you look at the Wolves game and you look at the Villa game, both those games, they conceded big chances to playing out the back. Both those games, Saliba, they couldn't handle the pressing of Wolves and Villa at some points. They gave Cunha a 1-on-1 from playing out the back, and he should have scored. They gave Watkins 2 chances. The first one was definitely from playing out the back. I think Gabriel got caught, and then Rodgers put in Watkins and he skewed it wide. So that's that pressure. And then we've got some of the best pressing, if not the best pressing in the league at the moment. If you look at the numbers especially, we're right up there in terms of how many times we win the ball in the opposition third. I think the pressing, I think anyone who's watched our games this season, whatever you want to say about it, everyone could acknowledge I think the pressing's been really good, and we've won the ball back half the pitch on a number of occasions. And I think if we do that against this Arsenal team, really force the mistakes out of them, especially now they don't have Rice and Odegaard, who I think they're 2 of their most press-resistant players.
And I think our pressing has been really good so far this season as well.
So I'm saying their 2 most press-resistant players are out. I think there could be an opportunity to smell blood here. I really do.
What are you saying? We're going to batter them?
Don't know. Bring him on. Do him.
You look at the way both teams have started the first 3 games, I think both teams have a reason to be a bit disappointed. Spurs in the results that we've got. You know, only 1 win out of the first 3 games, playing Leicester, a lackluster Newcastle side. We should really, from a performance perspective, we should be sitting here with 9 points. We should be. Arsenal, they've got the results apart from the draw against Brighton. They won their first 2 games. But I think from a performance perspective, they haven't been that great. So I think like Spurs and Arsenal have kind of started the season with opposite problems. Like we're not getting the results, but we're performing well. Arsenal are getting the results, but not performing that well. Who do you think's coming into this game under more pressure?
Who's coming into this game under more pressure? Well, in terms of what they want to achieve, probably Arsenal, because they've just drawn to Brighton. They know when you're battling Man City, you know, even draws probably feel like losses. And, you know, Man City have Brentford this weekend. That's probably going to be 3 points. You know, if with Man City coming up next week, if they drop points again, if they drop points to Spurs, they could easily find themselves, you know, 7 points behind after 5 games after next week?
Yeah, Man City will be their 5th game of the season.
So they could find themselves 7 points behind after 5 games, which is not a situation you want to be when you're chasing Man City. From Spurs' point of view, obviously, if we get a loss and make it 3 in a row, and with the form that we've shown this calendar year, you know, there is definitely a case you could say Ange will be put under quite a bit of pressure if we lose it, depending how we lose this game, obviously. But if it's a really poor loss and we don't play well, I think there'll be a lot more knives out for Ange, especially in a big game, especially the fact that we lost last year in a game we needed to try and stop Arsenal challenging for the title. And, you know, I know we played well and I was really proud of how we played, but, you know, we conceded such sloppy goals and it was really poor from that point of view. And that was really
dissimilar to how we've started the season, right? We've played well, we've just conceded sloppy goals. Yeah.
So I would say who needs the win more? Probably who needs the win more?
There's also another element, because if we do lose this game, how much pressure from sections of the fan base is Ange going to be under?
That's what I said. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, you did say that.
Yeah. So there's another element to that, and I think there's already a bit. I mean, I think at the moment, by and large, the fan base is with Ange and everyone's happy with him in terms of how we're playing, and everyone's, you know, willing to be a bit patient.
There are murmurings, though, aren't there?
There's definitely growing murmurings, definitely, from since the calendar year. You know, we didn't have a good end to last season. The fact that we haven't got off to a flying start results-wise this season as well. There's definitely people starting to question, is Ange football too naive? Is it ever going to work? Is it just too open? Is he not concentrating enough on how many goals we concede, all this kind of stuff. And if we do lose, those noises will definitely grow louder, because it's a very emotional game. Yeah. It's a very passionate game. If there'll be a lot of angry people if we lose this game. So I do think he needs to get a result here. I do think it's it's at least a draw. If we can get something out of the game, and I think that could, you know, quieten down a few people. If we get a win, I think everyone becomes a believer again.
In terms of the managers, from both managers' perspective, I do think this is a bigger game for Ange than Arteta.
In terms of the managers,
because Arteta, if Arteta loses this, his job is nowhere near under threat. But I feel like if Ange does lose this, I don't think his job's under threat from Spurs per se, but I do think, you know, fans will start getting on his back.
Agreed, but in terms of our objectives, if we lose, we can still definitely make that top 4. Yeah. If they lose and then they lose to Man City next week, you know, is that title slipping away already after 5 games? You know, with how good City are, you could make an argument, 7 points. How are they going to catch that up?
I love it, though. The Arsenal fans, like, coming into this season, every single one was in unison. This is our year. This is our year. It's written. There is no chance anyone's winning the title but Arsenal. Then the season starts, and they're all like, nah, no chance we can win the league. We're going to lose it. They're actually coming into this a bit scared, the Arsenal fans. I think a lot of them think they're going to come and lose this weekend.
I haven't seen to do with the injuries, I think.
Yeah, 100% is to do with the injuries, but it's also to do with the way they're playing a little bit. Like, even before the injury, I know Rice is massive for them, but Rice hasn't had a good start to the season. Mm-hmm. You know, he's been one of their poorer players, and I've seen quite a few Arsenal fans say that. Arsenal are not coming into this confident, and I think this is the first North London derby in the last couple of years where they haven't been coming into it confident, because last year they were very confident coming to our stadium. They were confident that they were going to beat us at the Emirates at the beginning of last season, which
they were super confident. They thought they were going to batter us.
Yeah, which they obviously didn't plan out that way, and we actually played the better game than them. The season before that, I believe they came into it pretty confident as well, both games. So this is probably, it's a strange situation because they actually came into the season thinking their name's on the trophy, but now they're not that confident to come in and win the game.
Well, I was watching a bit, what some of what AFTV had to say, and they were still pretty confident in terms of they saying if we play as well as we can, we'll win. No doubt about it. And I would even disagree with that. I think at our best, we can give anyone a game, and if they come toe to toe with us, we can go toe to toe with them, and we can give them a game. Now, as I said, last season was a game of small margins, and they went against us on the day. And it could have been Van der Ven had that goal ruled out from offside. We could have had a penalty. All these different. We scored an own goal. To go 1-0 down. All these little margins just went against us that game, despite us probably being the better team on the day. And I really think that if those small margins can go with us this time, there's no reason why, even if Arsenal play well, we can win.
Yeah,
I really believe that.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a mad day on Sunday. It really will, and I'm looking forward to it. In terms of Arsenal, do you feel they've strengthened this summer?
Yeah, they've strengthened. Have they strengthened enough to overtake City? I don't think so, but I think they've strengthened. I think Calafiori is a really good left-back or centre-back. He's obviously also cover for Gabriel. If he gets injured, he can fill in there. And I think at left-back, he's better than Zinchenko. Obviously, they've got Timber there as well, who's back after a long injury. But I think Calafiori is a really big pickup. I think Moreno's a really good midfield pickup as well, especially if you partner him with, I know he's injured as well, but you partner him with Rice and Odegaard. I think that solidifies that midfield even more. I think that's better than if you got Rice, Moreno and Odegaard. I think that's better than Partey, Rice and Odegaard. Not much, but I think it's better. So I do think they've improved. I think Arsenal fans would argue, and also Raheem Sterling, obviously we didn't even mention him. I think Raheem Sterling's a really good signing. I think Arteta knows him well. I think in terms of how they play, he's going to pick up a lot of these, goals at the back post. He's a player who, in a system, can work really well. We saw that at Man City. He was a very good. We
haven't seen
player.
it for a long time though with Sterling.
Yeah, well, 2 years. When he's been at Chelsea, who've been an absolute mess. Everyone's been poor, pretty much, apart from Palmer. Everyone's been poor for the last couple of years, and I think they're relying on him to have individual moments. Which, when you're relying on Sterling to do that, I think he can be found wanting a bit. But you put him in a system that's functioning, and you get him doing certain things, he can be a very, very effective player. He's got a brilliant pace, underrated finishing ability in certain situations, and he's very, very good at arriving at that back post and getting those tap-ins. And if Arsenal have him doing that role, it could be a very good signing. And he just adds that experience. He's won multiple league titles. He's going to come into this team where a lot of these players haven't gone that extra mile, and he has. He knows what it takes. He brings that experience to a young front line as well. And it's been, you say it's been a while. It wasn't that long ago when we played at the. Well, I guess it's been a while, but I'm saying that when we played at the Euros in our home country, I think that was just before he joined Chelsea, was it?
That was 4.5 years ago.
He was brilliant in that tournament. That was it 4 years ago? 2021. 3 years ago.
We just had the Euros. Oh, it was a year later though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a year later.
3 years ago.
3 years ago, yeah, but, Chelsea have just been a mess. Anyone going into that club will probably struggle when he's gone into it, to be honest. So I still think he's got a lot to offer, and I think that's a really good signing in my opinion.
What happened in his last year at Man City? I mean, Man City let him go for a reason.
Because he wanted to leave, and I think Man City were moving on from him. But doesn't mean he doesn't have a lot to offer.
I mean, I do think he can punish us on a given day, but I'm not worried about Sterling going to Arsenal at all, to be honest. And I'm looking at the Arsenal squad, and I do think they've made a couple of good signings with Calafiori, Marino, and Sterling could be. But I think numerically they're actually got less players in their squad than they did last season. And they struggled to fight on all fronts last season, going out the Champions League with a bit of a whimper. They did fight Man City all the way till the end in the league, but I don't know if they've got enough numbers, strength and depth to fight on all fronts.
Right, who they lost? They lost Nelson.
They lost Nelson, Nketiah, Smith Rowe, Vieira.
Yeah, but how much were they even playing?
Well, Nketiah played a little bit last season.
Yeah, but Havertz is now a striker.
Smith Rowe, they would have argued, should have had a lot more minutes last. I think Smith Rowe is a very good player.
I know, but they didn't.
Reece Nelson, he
didn't start a game in 2 years. Reece Nelson's been replaced by Reece Nelson's been replaced by Sterling, which is a massive upgrade.
Fabio Vieira actually started the season last year for them, played quite a few minutes at the beginning of the year. Look, these guys, maybe they didn't play too much last season, but that was due to they were getting lucky with injuries throughout the most of the season. If injuries start to hit, then these players, the majority of these players haven't been replaced.
But they've got Calafiori, they've got Moreno, who's injured anyway, but they've got him, who's coming in, and they've got Sterling. I mean, they've lost a few players who barely played, and they've added players who could easily step in now, like first-team quality players they've added. So I think, do they have a squad to compete on all fronts, Champions League or whatever, and go for it? I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but I think in terms of the quality of the squad, I think it's improved.
I just feel like last year they just got very lucky with injuries. I think they haven't had a proper significant injury probably since Saliba, and you're already seeing like 2 injuries now, and they're looking very weak in midfield, in my opinion. So look, Declan Rice isn't injured; he's just suspended. So I guess 2 players out, and they are looking weak in midfield. So that's. You look at Man City, right, who they're competing with. If Rodri hasn't played a minute this season, and they're looking unbelievable, so that just shows you the different levels, doesn't it?
Wasn't the case last year, though, was it, when Rodri was out?
True, they lost a lot of games when Rodri was out.
Yeah, this season he hasn't played a minute, and they haven't missed him at all. Obviously, Gundogan's back now; he's got that experience. So, look, I think Man City still have a better squad. I still think Man City are the team to beat. They've added Savio as well, so. I don't, as I've said, I think Arsenal have improved, but I don't think they've done enough to overcome Man City just yet. And as I say, if they lose this on Sunday and then they got Man City away, they could be 5 points, they could be 7 points behind if Man City win those 2 games. So more probably. Is it more? How many points are they behind now? They're 2 points behind.
Yeah.
So if they lose their next turn, that'll be more, it'll be 8 points. They'll be 8 points behind if after 5 games, and
they're going to go to Man City and completely park the bus again. Probably nick a draw.
So I'm just saying, if they do end up going 8 points behind, that's almost becoming. It's not insurmountable because they're only 5 games in, but with how relentless Man City can be, that's all of a sudden becoming a very big hill to climb after 5 games already, which is not something that Arsenal would have wanted with all these signings, and after 2 years of just trying to catch Man City and failing. Like the last 2 seasons, they haven't had this big of a gap so early on. So if they didn't do that last 2 seasons and couldn't catch them, how are they going to catch them to 8 points behind after 5 games? Yeah,
especially when second half Man City of the season kick in. We've got a couple of chats here to bring up. First of all, from Brian Daigle, member for 46 months. Unbelievable, Brian. He says it's time to go to battle against the filth. And if the players give as much passion and perform as well as the fans do, then 3 points is ours. Come on, you Spurs. And I firmly believe that's true as well.
Definitely. I think we can. I really do believe this game could be won by us. I don't think it's this game where we definitely can't win and Arsenal are just too good. I don't see it that way at all. I think the games between us last season have proved that, and I think we can definitely win this game. But whether we will win the game or whether things might go against us again, with counter-attacks, we'll have to wait and see how the game plays out. But we can definitely win this game.
Who starts, Odegaard or Brennan?
I reckon he goes Brennan, because of how he came on against Newcastle. I think he's going to want to reward him again with the start. But Odegaard has started 2 out of 2, and he looked bright. But Odegaard he looked a lot better when he was on the left than on the right. So Johnson looked a lot more comfortable on the right when he came on against Newcastle.
Did you see Odegaard's individual highlights for the under-21s?
I haven't. I heard he apparently looked very good.
Yeah, he was on the right. He was taking on men. He looked really good, getting crosses in the box from far out wide. It looked like exactly what Ange wants.
I think I would start Odegaard, because I think, first of all, it adds a bit of unpredictability to us, Also, he adds something different in the final third in terms of someone who's going to take on his man and really, create space in that way. And also, it could potentially tire out that fullback a bit for when Brendan comes on, and then Brendan can make a bit of a difference. I feel like
That's what I want to see.
I feel like if Brendan starts and he's easy to deal with, I feel like he might not give the fullback a tough ride, and then Odegaard comes on and he's still all right.
Brennan, like, off the bench is world class. Just when he starts, he's just poor. He just doesn't make the impact. But when he comes on against tiring legs, that's when he makes the real impact. So that's what I want to see.
And also midfield, I want to see Decky in there with Maddison. I know it's a risk. I know you could argue we need Sarr or Bentancur to add a bit of solidity, but with Odegaard and Rice out, I'll just go for it. I think now's the time. I think if they're going to sit a low block and they're going to try and frustrate us, just put Decky in there. He's got the physicality, he's a man on form, and they've got the quality, him and Maddison together, to pick the lock and really open up Arsenal. And also, he's got the physicality to make sure that he can get back in position and stop them in midfield. So I would really just go for it.
The Joracle with a super chat, and he says, events have conspired to give us a North London derby in which Spurs have no excuses. 3 points and a Woolwich humiliation is the order of the day. Gaff, please have 2 sittings. He wants to see 2 sitting midfielders.
Gaff, but no, I don't. I want to see us go for it. I want us to be brave. I want us to be brave.
Because you know the way Arsenal are going to play this. They're going to play this sitting deep.
Without Odegaard, what's the reason to have 2 sitters?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I don't see a reason for it. I know they've still got a really good front line. If they get that ball to the front line, we could be in trouble. But if we can pen them in like we did last time, make sure that they're really not getting much joy with balls over the top with Van de Ven in there,
and take your bloody chances.
I think it could really be worth our while going with Decky. And if it's not working, you can put Bentancur and Sarr in, but I think start the game with Decky in there. That's what I would do.
And he's a man on form as well. You just have to start him. All right, let's play a little bit of a fun one we've got for you today. We're going to make up a Tottenham 11, North London derby combined 11, but we're putting the Arsenal South London Nomads aside. We're just focusing on Tottenham players, and we're basically going to base it on individual performances in past North London derbies. So we've got a 4-3-3 formation.
So how it works is you take this is an 11 of the player who had the best performances in North London derby, individual performances. So, for example, we're going to start with the goalkeeper. I guess nominations, you got Aurelio Gomez in 2010 when he made that triple save and we won the game 2-1. You've got Lloris maybe making that penalty save against Aubameyang.
Ooh.
You've got that moment as well.
Wasn't there a big Neil Sullivan performance once?
There was a big Neil Sullivan performance in a 1-1 draw back in 2001, I remember, which he got a lot of praise for. I want to know in the comments, what do you reckon? Who would... for me, I think...
It's got to be, yeah.
I can't look past that Aurelio Gomez 09.
The octopus, man. That was the epitome of an octopus, that game. And that free kick save against Van Persie.
Yeah, that free kick he saved. He tipped one from Judas onto the bar, I remember.
Yeah.
There was one...
Just for that alone. You can't have that bastard scoring against us in our stadium.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe the chat is... too young to remember that when watching it, but that was obviously the first time we'd beaten Arsenal for a long time at that point as well. We beat them in 2010, and also, we just lost a cup semi-final, and we were really on a low. But Gomez really pulled out. I think he ended up getting man of the match for 3 saves he made late on in the game when he was unbelievable. So I'll probably put Gomez in there. But Lloris in there for that penalty save, that was big. I got us top 4 this year as well. What does the chat say? Who would be the best individual goalkeeper performance against Arsenal?
Said Sullivan had 2 North London derbies at home, which we drew 1-1 in each, and would have been much more if it wasn't for him. I do kind of remember that vaguely. I mean, my memory's a bit hazy at the best of times, but I think Gomez has got to win it, to be honest. I think that he was just incredible that day.
Yeah, we'll put Aurelio Gomez in.
Let's go left back then. There's obviously Danny Rose.
Danny Rose on his Premier League debut.
For 45 minutes.
For 45 minutes.
It's interesting. He actually was speaking about it in this interview that he did yesterday, and he said if this was now, like, he would never have shot. He did it more out of nerves than anything. He said he would try anything now except for taking that shot. He said he would try just control it, pass it, even nutmeg someone, but he wouldn't take the shot again. To be honest, Danny Rose wasn't even great in that first half. He got taken off at half-time. But it was just that goal that stood out.
Yeah, Orlando Bloom does make a good point. He was actually on the wing that game.
That's
which
true.
Which is a good point. But he is a left back, so I think he qualifies. Just
Christian
about.
Ziege.
Ziege, I was going to point him out. Could put Christian Ziege in there when he scored that free kick against Arsenal back in 2003. What a free! That's one of the best free kicks. Such an underrated goal. I think that's one of the best free kicks I've ever seen.
Yeah. So far out.
So
as well.
far out, and right in the top corner. We haven't been blessed with amazing left-back performances against Arsenal, I don't think, down the years. But I guess...
Sure, wasn't there one in there from Benoit Suakoto, surely?
I'm trying to think. We've won a few games with him. I don't remember too many times where I point... Like maybe the one where we came back from 2-0 down. I think he played quite well in that game.
What about in that game that we... Didn't we lose a game and Gareth Bale played at left back and scored a free kick against Arsenal?
That was 3-1 at home.
Yeah, at home. That was when Fabregas and Adebayor scored those mad goals.
Yeah, right at the end. So we did end up losing that game. Probably have to. Daigle says that Ziege goal was the last North London derby goal I saw. Could we put a Doggy there? No, Doggy what for his game at the. His game at the Emirates, probably not. I guess we'll put Danny Rose there.
All right.
Danny Rose.
It's Danny Rose on his Tottenham debut. And that was like the first time we beat them in like a decade or something. It was mad that day. Absolutely mad. Centre-backs. Ledley King scored multiple times against Arsenal.
He did. There was, I remember, one in 2005 he scored. He scored in a 1-1 draw. He had a really good game. I think he played in the game where we beat them, on 2-1, I think.
What, when Rose played?
Yeah, I think he played
was playing that game, I'm pretty sure.
He played that game and he played really well.
Toby scored against them as well.
Toby scored in that was when the no fans. He scored. Oh, and he also scored when we drew 2-2 with them. I think he might be up for it. Who would be the best? Obviously, Kabul. I think he might.
Yunus.
Be there. I think Yunus Kabul has to.
The last-minute winner at the Emirates.
Yeah, exactly. Yunus Kabul, I think, has to be in there.
I think Ledley King has to be in there. Ledley King has to be in there. I think he always turned up. Well, he always turned up every game, but against Arsenal, you could see it meant that extra bit to him, and he always was top against Arsenal. So I think Ledley King at left centre-back.
Ledley King left centre-back and Yunus Kabul right centre-back.
Kabul or Toby? There's got to be Kabul, right?
Kabul, just for that goal. What a moment. Yunus Kabul.
All right, Ledley King, left centre-back. Yunus Kabul, right centre-back. We'll get a few there in a second. Right-back. I can't remember any good right-back performances against Arsenal.
Right-back. I'm trying to... Oh, I can name one. When I remember Kyle Walker scored a 25-yarder.
Oh, yeah, 2-2 last minute, wasn't it?
No, he scored. It was 2-1.
Oh, 2-1.
We beat him 2-1, and he scored the... Oh, that's a good shout behind there. William Gallas got man of the match that game.
Oh, that's true, actually.
Gallas was brilliant. Serge Aurier?
Gallas was actually better than Kabul in that game.
He was, but Kabul scored the goal.
Yeah. But Gallas got man of the match.
Gallas got man of the match. He was incredible that game, William Gallas. He was.
He was captain on the day, wasn't he? That means King wasn't playing.
King, that game he wasn't playing.
Yeah.
That game he wasn't playing. He was probably injured. But I think the game where we beat them 2-1, he was playing.
A good right-back performance against Arsenal.
I think that's, probably Walker for that goal he scored. He scored a late winner.
Is that the only one? I guess the late winner is...
A late winner from 25 yards, I remember. That was back in 2011.
Everyone,
went right through Chesney. That was a great last-minute goal from Kyle Walker.
I was sitting right behind that goal, I remember.
I'm trying to remember, because before that, who do we have? Like Chimbonda. I don't think he ever played well against
Stephen
Arsenal.
Carr.
Stephen Carr. Did he ever... Yeah, he had some good games, but was it against Arsenal?
The ones that stand out with Stephen Carr is always the Man United games.
Who was the right back when we won 5-1? I think it might have been like Timu Tanya or something.
Wasn't it Hutton?
Alan Hutton? Might have been Hutton. No, he hadn't joined then.
You sure?
I don't think he had joined.
Because he played in the cup final, didn't he?
He did. That was like one of his first games.
You sure?
Yeah, because he joined in January, didn't he?
Was it January he joined?
Yeah, he joined in January.
Let's have a look who played at
Carl
right back
Norton.
in that
I don't
game.
think Carl Norton.
5-1, 5-1. Here we go. Oh, they don't have the lineups. Let's have a look quickly. Okay, here we go. So the team was Radek. Oh, it was Chimbonda.
It was Chimbonda.
Yeah, Chimbonda, Dawson, King, and YP Lee at the back.
YP Lee. All right, so I think we'll go for Carl Walker right back.
All right,
for
Carl
his winner
Walker.
against Arsenal in 2011.
Carl Walker.
I've got a very good shout for the defensive midfield position. Actually, I've got a very good
It's
shout.
got to be Moussa Dembele.
Wilson Palacios.
Oh, Palacios.
Remember his debut? How amazing he was in that game. He
But you
got
know
man
what?
of the match.
You know what? He was amazing that game. But Wilson Palacios, we were crying out for a defensive midfielder for so many years. And finally, we had someone in the middle of the park that could just put in a few tackles. He was amazing that day. But there are a couple of Moussa Dembele performances against Arsenal where they just couldn't handle him.
I remember there was a couple of the Emirates.
I think, look, I'm happy for the middle three to be Palacios, Dembele, and Genas.
Yeah, I was about to say Jermaine Genius.
Genas loved the goal again. He absolutely smashed Arsenal.
But then we're leaving out Van der Vaart.
Oh, God. Van der Vaart.
Van der Vaart. I think Genius definitely has to be. I think Genius for the 5-1. He was unbelievable that day. I don't think that was one of the best performances I've ever seen anyone have against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Genius that day. He got like
But
3 assists. He got a goal. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, there was that. There was also the last-minute equaliser in the 2-2.
Yeah.
Genius 100% is in there. So Genius you can lock in probably in the 8.
Yeah, put him in the left 8. And then Genius has to be in there. Can we leave out Van der Vaart for the one that 3-3?
No, Van der Vaart has to be in
The
as
game
well.
we drew 3-3.
It's got to be Genius, Van der Vaart, Dembele.
I don't know. I want Palacios. I think Palacios deserves. I don't know if Dembele, any of Dembele's performances were better than that Palacios.
Oh, you're forgetting
game.
some of these Dembele
I'm not.
performances,
I'm not.
man. He ran
Palacios
the
was-
show.
You got to remember, we were terrible back then, and Palacios, that was his debut, I remember, and he was everywhere.
Justin
Nothing could
Glazer
get
saying
past
Dele
him.
Alli.
Dele Alli, what for the game at the end when we beat them at the Emirates?
Yeah.
They could, he
Well, didn't Dele Alli score? Did he score the last North London derby at White Hart Lane?
He did. Yeah, he did. We were very good that game. We battered them. Musa must be in. Huddleston was also
Huddleston in the
great.
3-3.
Huddleston in the 3-3. I think Van der Vaart, that 3-3 performance was incredible. He was amazing. So he has to. I think he has to be next to Genius. So it's whether we go
Van der
Palacios
Vaart in
or
the 3-3,
Dembele.
but Van der Vaart in the 3-2. Both those games he was
Won the
incredible.
3-2. Yeah, I think he was a bit better in the 3-0 actually. And he scored in the 2-1 when Walker scored. He scored
Yeah.
in that game as well. So Dembele is the best ball. Yeah, I know he was the best. Look, I'm not arguing whether Dembele was better than Palacios. Obviously,
No, I know what we're arguing, and I'm saying Dembele again in the North London derbies at White Hart Lane just ran the show, man. They could not get the ball off him. He was incredible. I get what you're saying about Palacios, and he was brilliant in that
got
game.
man of
But
the match.
he did, but I'm pretty sure Dembele's had man of the matches against Arsenal as well.
but the
Probably
thing is-
multiple.
The thing is, Dembele, he always played well against us. So I can't pinpoint one exact game where I'm thinking Dembele was the reason we won that game. Like I can really point at Palacios for that one game.
Yeah.
Like Dembele played a lot of good games against Arsenal. Don't get me wrong, but like if we're picking like an individual performance, I think Palacios probably gets it.
I don't know, man. I just think it's only because it's Palacios.
No, I don't know. I'm saying if I'm picking if you pick an individual performance for Dembele, I don't think you can pick one.
But because they were all
They're
unbelievable.
all so good, I know, but there wasn't. I'm not saying that he didn't stand out in those games. I'm just saying there wasn't one where I'm like that was Dembele's game. You know what I mean? But that one, I can say that was Palacios' game.
Yeah, that was Palacios' game. But I can't give up Dembele because he was just so crucial to us in every one of those games. And every one of those games he put in a 9 out of 10 performance.
So what
minimum.
game are we saying?
I mean, all those games that we beat them at White Hart Lane in that period, he was absolutely bang central to.
Wilson just one good game. Yeah, but that's the point. This is the whole point. This is an individual 11 of the best performances against Arsenal. like an individual performance, which is why like Gomez gets in there and stuff like that. So it's not about of the player; it's about the game. Dembele, but Palacios on the bench. Says
I'll take that.
All right, I'll put Dembele, but Dembele in the 6. You know,
I would love Dembele in the 6 right now for
Spurs. I wouldn't mind it.
Dembele in the 6, Van der Vaart in the 10.
All right, I'll put Dembele and Van der Vaart there.
All right, now
it gets very interesting.
Let's go for right wing. Are we going for Aaron Lennon?
Lennon in the 5-1.
Yeah.
Or the
4-4.
Or the 4-4, the Emirates. I mean, he actually didn't play very well that game. He just got the goal.
Yeah.
There was also a game I remember.
Bloody hell! You know what? What about Modric in the 4-4?
Modric in the 4-4. Yeah, he was great that game. He was like around a sea of rubbish, basically, and he was the only class one.
And he's the one that actually took the shot that led to the goal.
Yeah, he did. I think Aaron Lennon. There was one Aaron Lennon game actually. I remember we played Arsenal in I think it was 2013, and we scored 2 goals in 2 minutes. I remember Lennon and Bale scored very quickly, and we ended up winning that game 2-1.
Yeah, Lennon loved the game against Arsenal.
Lennon did like it against Arsenal. I'm trying to think of other games against Arsenal we did well. There was the back then, I'm trying to think.
Francis Reynolds says Lamella for a shithousery. I mean, he did score that Rabona, but then he got sent off 10 minutes later, which kind of lost us the game.
Ryan Daigle says right wing Darren Antonin all day long. Rabona red card.
Rabona red card just for the vibes.
Just for the vibes.
It's got to be Lennon, surely.
Yeah, little Aaron Lennon for the 5-1, I think. He tore them to shreds.
5-1, 4-4, 2-1.
2-1.
3 big goals against Arsenal.
Yeah, he did. And also, I remember that game. I remember in the Carabao Cup, we drew 2-2. He was amazing that game, but we ended up not winning. But yeah, we'll go for little Aaron Lennon.
On the left-hand side, there is only, for individual performance against Arsenal, like Gareth Bale.
Gareth Bale. Who else did we have on the left? Who was playing our left wing under Pochettino? Well, Sonny.
How can we forget Sonny or Bale for the left wing?
Oh my God! What are we doing?
Sonny or Bale?
We can't even put Bale on the right because I don't know if he ever played much on the right against Arsenal for us.
This calls for a poll, I think.
Sonny for that goal where he batted it from 30 yards.
Sonny has been brilliant. Sonny at the Emirates last season.
2 goals. He got that brace at the Emirates last year.
This calls for a poll.
Huh? Put Bale left back. Well, Bale never really played left back though. Son is always class in the North. I think Son actually might take it. Bale also had a very good run in the North London derby actually, because Bale scored. He scored in that 2-1 when Rose scored. He scored at the Emirates when we won 3-2. He scored in a 2-1 win when there was 2 goals in 2 minutes as well. He actually scored in a couple of defeats as well. I think he scored that 5-2 defeat. He scored.
Bale was brilliant against Arsenal.
But then Sonny, he scored
the goal in lockdown.
Scored a goal in lockdown. He scored that one from 30 yards, which were also in lockdown.
Yeah,
well, it wasn't lockdown, but it was
half stadium or something.
He scored. He scored a brace at the Emirates.
Anvil makes a good point. He also missed a 1-1 against City.
He also missed a 1-1 against City. He also scored in the 3-0.
Yes.
He scored in the 3-0 as well. God. I think Sonny might have a bit more aura against Arsenal than Bale. I mean, even though Bale had big amount of aura.
I think you're right. I think Sonny should go in this team.
Close.
It is very close, but I think when you're just looking at the catalogue of goals between Son and Bale against Arsenal, Sonny should win that hands down.
Sonny scored in the Carabao Cup as well when Delhi scored in that day, the lob. He scored the opening goal. It's
got to be Sonny.
I think
the poll is Sonny smashing the poll anyway.
Sonny smashing the poll, 58 votes. Yeah, Sonny's COVID era goal. I think that has to go in it.
Son. All right, Son gets the left wing, and look, I think the striker is going to be probably the shortest debate that we've had, and that's got to be only one man, and that is obviously going to be Robbie Keane, right?
Yeah, Robbie Keane, of course, it has to be Robbie Keane
for that penalty in the last minute.
Yeah, exactly. Got the draw. Doesn't matter
when
if
Arsenal won the league.
Doesn't matter. We got the draw.
It's got to be Harry Kane, man. Harry Kane.
Striker, no.
Harry Kane, the ultimate Arsenal killer. Not only did he did it for Spurs, he's done it for Bayern Munich as well.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think Kane, so many good performances against Arsenal every time. I think the first one might have been the best one, that brace, when he in his first North London derby.
Was whose name is Harry Kane?
Yeah. He was incredible that day. And those two, that header he got in the last
North London derby at the Lane as well. He was incredible. He
scored so many penalties, though, didn't he? So,
especially at the Emirates.
Obviously, he got that wonder goal, didn't he, in the game we didn't win.
We should have won that game. I'm still bitter about that game now.
And that was...
Because that put us top of the league for 16 minutes or whatever.
16 minutes. What a 16 minutes it was.
Literally, after that goal, up until Arsenal scored, and they were down to 10 men as well, weren't they? And the Lane was literally shaking.
Yeah,
it was literally shaking. The best atmosphere ever.
The face mask goal, yeah.
Yeah, the face mask goal.
Yeah, that was incredible. So many penalties he got at the Emirates as well. But I think, Kane for that performance at the Lane when his first North London derby, I think that one sticks out to me. Manager, probably Poch.
I'll go Redknapp.
You reckon Redknapp?
Redknapp, just for the win at the Emirates.
For the win at the Emirates, yeah. Fair enough. Can we do Ramos for the 5-1?
Can
Ramos.
We're talking about an individual performance here. What was more impressive, beating them 5-1 at Tottenham, but it wasn't Arsenal's second string, or in the league 3-2, come back from 2-0 down with Harry Redknapp in one of his first games, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I would say that 3-2 win. But in terms of like the most dominant we've ever been against Arsenal, I think Poch would take it for that last North London derby at the Lane, probably. Yeah. That's probably the most dominant we've ever been against Arsenal. Yeah. Like in terms of like, we were so clearly the better team. Yeah.
It's true, but like that win is literally our only win at the Emirates in the league. Yeah.
Harry Redknapp. So Harry Redknapp goes in as manager. What do you reckon he'll do with that team?
He'll say just run around and get the ball in the back of the net. So that's the team. Gomez in goal, Walker right back, Rose left back, King Cubble. Oh man,
we left out Gaza. Oh my god, poor Gascoigne.
We left out Graham Roberts as well.
Graham Roberts
put Charlie Nichols in the stands.
Oh my god, who could forget? Who could forget that? Graham Roberts, Gary Lineker got a brace in the semi.
Yeah,
Gary Lineker.
Who would you swap Gaza out?
Oh, I don't know. For that semi-final performance. Oh, I can't leave out any of those.
Andre says no Modric is crazy as well.
No Modric. Also Modric, I remember that game when Rose scored his volley. That was like the first time we saw Modric as centre mid, pretty much in that game. Mm-hmm. And he was unbelievable, I remember.
And we never looked back after that.
We never looked back. Sonny won the poll, 72%. Oh, so many good performances.
Look, it's locked in now. We've got to go for it. Dembele, Van der Vaart and Jenas in the middle. Lennon, Son and Kane up top. So that is your Tottenham North London derby combined 11 based on individual performances in previous North London derbies. After this North London derby this weekend, who's going to be making the team?
It's going to be, I reckon, who's going to make the team? Dom Solanke.
Dom.
So we got Gomez for his performance in 2010, Walker for his goal in 2011, Kabul for his winner in 2010, Ledley King for us getting the win in 2010 against Arsenal, Danny Rose for his Premier League debut, Dembele for
a catalogue
of games against Arsenal, Van der Vaart for the 3-3 at the Lane back in 2011,
3-2 as well,
Jermaine Genius for the 5-1.
Genius also a catalogue of games.
Yeah, true. But we'll say for the 5-1 in there when he got on that day a goal and 2 assists, I think, or 3 assists. He was incredible. Aaron Lennon.
Lennon, Son and Kane are all catalogues, aren't they?
Yeah, true. Lennon for a lot of goals. And then Lennon, Son and Kane, for various goals against Arsenal. There you go.
It doesn't sit right with me completely that we've left out Gaza and Modric, but this is what we've gone for. Let us know yours in the comment section.
Individual performances and that against Arsenal. This isn't about how good you are. This is about how good you played against Arsenal on that specific day. It doesn't sit right with me. We left out Palacios. He should have been in there.
Still bitter about Palacios. He's going to come on, though. He's going to come on to see out the game.
On the bench, you got Palacios. You got Bale. Bale we left out. We got Bale. We've got
Gaza, Modric.
Toby Alderweireld as well.
Christian Ziege.
Lloris on the bench. Christian Ziege. Quite a good bench. Well, the Robbie Keane. Berbatov had some good games against Arsenal, I think.
Don't remember any Berbatov good games against Arsenal.
I remember.
Didn't Berbatov score at the Emirates?
He did score at the Emirates, yeah. When Robbie Keane missed the penalty.
Yeah.
I remember he missed that penalty, we lost 2-1.
Deli's got to be
Dele's
on the bench.
On the bench.
A lot of players.
Didn't mention Ericsson, but I don't remember too many world-class
Brad saying Teddy Sheringham.
Sheringham. I can't remember too many good performances from Ericsson in the game. I mean, he played well, but I don't remember any standout games against Arsenal from what I can remember. Oh, Nasser Chadli. Missed out Nasser Chadli.
Nasser Chadli.
Nasser Chadli for his goal at the Emirates.
Wasn't that Poch's first North London derby?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Adebayor was still starting back then.
Well, Adebayor.
Did he ever score a winner against Arsenal?
No, but he scored in the 5-2 loss.
He scored in the 5-2 loss, yeah.
But what about when he played for Man City and he ran all the way to the Arsenal fans?
Just be in it for that.
But look, that's the lineup we're going to go for.
That was a good reminisce.
Harry Redknapp as manager. Let us know yours in the comments section. And yeah, I guess we'll finish off going through some comments from YouTube. So take it away, Sim.
Yeah, we've got some comments to react to over the last few days. People have been commenting on various videos and some opinions about Ange, about the Arsenal game. So we'll start off with this one. I think this one was talking about, potentially fans becoming a bit less patient for Ange or losing faith in Ange. This is from Positively Bobby. He said, "It's like walking out of a movie 10 minutes in. Fans need to stop playing football god, thinking they know everything inside the club and thinking they know more than the actual people running the show. If we had the same quality and depth as City or Arsenal, then there's a little more room to ask questions, but we're extremely young. We've brought in quality that haven't played much yet. Let the man work. It's not an overnight gig. He needs the right players, have them long enough to adjust and believe in the system." Are we fans guilty of judging Ange too early?
100%. 100%. I agree to a certain extent with what he's saying. Spurs fans obviously have a lot of past traumas to deal with, including myself, including yourself. I think we all have past traumas that we're
PTSD.
Yeah.
Well, what did Danny Rose say? I think he said there's some sporting directors have a lot to answer for some of the players they've brought.
He did
to
say
this
that.
club.
He did say that.
And he's probably talking about Ng, probably Kudu,
all the rubbish that we bought under Poch.
Sissoko maybe.
But what I'm saying is that
Janssen.
all the past traumas all relate to our opinions today, to a lot of people's anyway. And we saw how it went with this one, we saw how it went with that one, and we're all expecting it to go, or not expecting it, but we all think it could go the same way under Ange Postecoglou, and it's up to him and the team to prove us wrong.
Definitely. I think the overall sentiment is correct. I think he still needs some time. And I think people just, a few dodgy results at the beginning of a season. But people forget Poch's second season, the first 4 games was 3 draws and a loss. That was the first 4 games, and then we really clicked into gear. So that might happen early on. I even remember, I'm not saying we're that level, but I even remember like in Pep's second season when they were Centurions, I think they were Centurions in the second season, they started the season with a 1-1 draw at home to Everton. Like it didn't click in the first game. And then obviously they went on to win, I think, a record point. So just because it's the first 3 games, we haven't got the points maybe it deserves, doesn't mean the whole season's going to be like that. Yeah. Stevie C335 says, "How on earth can we say Archie Gray is a clever signing? Bellingham only cost 15 million when he left the Championship for Dortmund. Gray doesn't even get in the team. It was a very weird transfer window that didn't address the necessary issues. Ange said the front 3 isn't good enough. He then signed Werner and Odegaard after signing Johnson last summer. I've neglected to mention Solanke, but it's blindingly obvious that none of those guys are anywhere near good enough. I also don't get the whole he's 18 or 19, so he's not ready thing. They may never be ready. All of our signings are cheapish punts on guys that haven't proven it. Solanke has proven it, but only for a few months. I'm pretty certain we've cleared out a load of deadwood and signed some more of it in Johnson, Odegaard, and maybe Gray and Solanke. Are Johnson, Odegaard, Gray and Solanke going to be deadwood in a couple of years, he's saying?
Well, Werner, yes. Werner won't be here past this year's season. He's just on loan. So
he's saying Johnson and Odegaard.
I mean, the jury is definitely out on Brennan, for sure. He got 15 goal contributions last season, which is a great start. But, you need to see him impacting games a lot more. Odegaard, again, the jury's out. He's a young player, 19 years old, coming into this club, one season in the Premier League for Burnley. We need to see how it goes with him, but he's definitely got a case because, look at the wingers we were linked with coming into this window, and we've come out with Timo Werner on loan and Odegaard. It's definitely, it's not exactly two signings that tells you that we're trying to take the club onto the next level. And when you're looking at really trying to improve that front line, I think we have improved it with Dom Solanke coming in. Odegaard, he's not nowhere near the finished article yet. He's got probably a high ceiling, but having a high ceiling doesn't mean that you're ready to kick into gear right now. And I think that's what he's alluding to.
In terms of the stuff with Odegaard, Gray, and Bergvall, I think the problem with them at the moment is they're so young and we've seen so little of them so far. It's hard to pass judgment, and I think people are turn to other youngsters who maybe have looked promising and haven't made the grade and are putting that assumption on these players. But you got to look at Arsenal. How young were Martinelli and Saka when Arteta took over? They were probably teenagers when he took over.
Yeah.
And look at how good they've turned out to be. So if we really believe in these players, there's nothing to from what we've seen. I think personally, there's nothing to suggest they can't really make an impact. Now the question is, are they ready this season to be part of a team that's going to really challenge for a title or something like that? Probably not. Can they be part of a squad that make top four? I think so. I don't see why not. So I'm comfortable with that at the moment, and I'm willing to give them time. And I think, as I've said, in terms of the front line, I think Solanke's I think he's a big improvement up front. You've still got Son on the left wing, whether people want to say if he suits that position or not. I still think he can get a lot of goal contributions there. And if all Brennan has to do is improve on those 15 goal contributions, and for me, he's done his job. I think that's what he needs to do.
He needs to impact games more. He really does need to impact games more.
If a player like him can get more than 15 goal contributions, I would say he's done his job. I would say that's a really good return for a young winger like him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like, if he ends this season, let's say, with 15 plus goal contributions, if he improves on last season, I'll say, yeah, it's a very good season from him. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know. Like, when you're thinking about signing Brennan Johnson for 50 million, like, if I said to you now, knowing what Brennan has done for Spurs in the last year, saying we can buy Brennan Johnson for 50 million, you wouldn't say yes.
No, I'd probably rather go for someone else, to be honest. But doesn't mean he can't be even more effective. And who's to say we bring another winger and they definitely get more than goal contributions than he got? No guarantees. But I think aesthetically, he's not the most pleasing winger on the eye sometimes. He can be very predictable, very runs in a straight line. That's his only thing. But it doesn't matter if you're effective. And I think he has proven to be effective.
Yeah, he's just had a poor start to the season. I mean, he came on and did well against Newcastle, but he's been poor the other two games.
Got an assist, kind of, a goal, yeah. He was poor in the other two games. Cree1L me says, Ange Ball is very demanding tactic, and we are signing kids for a reason. Like their physical condition are more fresh without any serious injury in the past. They are more likely to maintain their performance in this level for the long term. And also, lots of the senior ones wouldn't want to play in this system because it will shorten their career. Do you reckon that's a big reason why we're going for younger players, because they're fresher, they can maybe handle the physical demands? And puts on them more than maybe more experienced players.
Yeah, 100%. You saw where we went with the team when we last did this kind of, buying all young talent from around Europe. When you're looking at, a young Jan Vertonghen, a young Toby Alderweireld, or not that young, but you're looking at, Harry Kane coming through the ranks. You're looking at Dele Alli, signed him as an 18-year-old from MK Dons, Danny Rose, it took him a while to break in. Kyle Walker. We were buying young talent from around England and Europe, and that didn't exactly end badly. Well, it kind of did because we didn't win anything. But, if we can replicate what we did under Poch and go a step further, literally just one step further, you're talking about the best Tottenham team of all time. Mm-hmm. Danny Rose was talking in this interview as well, and he said he came out the Man United away game last year. He was sat with the fans, and he was saying to his friends that he thinks this Tottenham team, could get there eventually. But I think it's too soon to talk about that happening this season. It's a learning curve. It's a growing curve. And I like the direction that we're going in. I just feel like we need more. So in terms of the young players, we have to have young players. We had one of the oldest squads in the Premier League a couple of years ago. We had to do this for the future of the club.
Exactly, and I think it's a good direction. Obviously, I think I would like more, but I think overall it's still been a positive window in my opinion. It's more positive than negative, as much as I would like more from it. Maxter86 says, I usually like Brains, but he's been on Basuma's balloons. I can promise you no coach on earth, from the little league to senior citizens, want their team to give up 70% possession and they will win with one chance. That's what you resort to when you get dominated. Insane take. This is what he was saying in response to when we were talking about our style of play and we were talking about our starts of the season, and he was making the argument that it's not that we're not getting this much possession because we're playing well. He was arguing that teams are giving us this possession as a tactic so they could counter-attack on us and rely on us, not taking our chances or restricting us, and then they can take their chances, and that's the reason we're having so much possession. And he's saying, that's crazy because no team would want to give up 70% possession. That can't be a tactic that over the long term would be positive.
I saw this comment and I laughed at it because when you were organising the panel show and Brains was the first person to say he's in, I was like, oh boy, it's all going to go off here. I haven't seen any of the panel, but judging by this comment, it looked like Brains was saying a lot that, same stuff he's been saying in the WhatsApp group. And I get it from a certain extent. I just feel like he's just way over the top with it, way over the top. And it can't be a plan to just basically rely on Tottenham missing their chances. Surely that's not a plan from other teams.
No, that's not a good plan. It's not for me. Some of the chances we missed against Leicester and Newcastle, it's not a plan to just rely on us missing those chances to win the game. And I know we did end up missing, and they did win the game, and it worked in their favour. But I don't think it's part of the plan for these teams to allow us so much possession, allow us to dominate them so much, and allow us to create these chances in the hope that they get a chance and they take it. I don't think that's a good plan. And I think a lot of it is to do with us forcing them to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And when you look at moving further into the season with Solanke in the 9, Sonny on the left, you've got two deadly finishers there that will, if you give them chances, they will score goals.
Exactly. And I think if we keep creating the level of chance we will end up scoring.
Oh, here's Brains in the chat.
What's he
said, I said that because we are playing so well in ball domination that teams are sitting against us. You can't deny that. Yeah, teams are sitting.
Right, but teams are sitting against us because we're so good, because we are dominating so well. But that should be a praise for us rather than a criticism.
It's like teams are showing us respect.
Exactly. You don't do you don't do that unless we're good. You know what I mean? And yes, we need to combat that now that teams are starting to pay us respect. I understand that level, but I don't think you can dismiss the fact that we're also being shown respect for a reason.
I'm saying teams are coming to us not to lose rather than to beat us.
Yeah, at the moment. Well,
but they are beating us.
They are beating us. They're coming to restrict us. That's their number one. The goal at the moment is not to try and create chances themselves, but their main thing is to restrict Tottenham and then try and get some counter-attacks. That's the level, and that's where we want to be at. We want teams to do that so we can pen them in, and then we can assert ourselves on the game. Dwayne Cooper 2297 says, with the ball and attacking, we have no defensive structure to avoid being played through the middle when the opposition team is on the counter and transition. Maybe it's a lack of focus on players, players' part, but it's worrying trend that we have not solved. I think there is definitely some truth to that, which I've definitely banged on about this channel, where when we are defending, we're not very good, to be honest, and we're a bit all over the place when we're dropping deep, and we don't seem to be very organised, and that is a big problem, and that's something that Ange should definitely be sorting. It seems at the moment that Ange's priority is getting us in a position where every game we're capable of creating chances, and we're capable of dominating the game, and we're capable of asserting ourselves on the opposition. That seems to be his priority, and I don't mind that too much. But at some point, we're going to have to deal with the fact that when teams are in a mode in the game where, and it will happen in every game, because we're playing in the Premier League, and where teams are in modes in the game where they are on top and they're getting players forward and they are forcing us back a bit, we seem to be very unstructured and very disorganised, and that is a problem, and that is something that will keep costing us goals, I think.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating because it feels like we do have the personnel there in the back line and the goalkeeper. You know, you're really happy with the personnel there, but there's a clear structural and tactical issue that he needs to sort out ASAP, because we're not as many. Even if we could create 10 chances a game, we're not going to, you know, put away all our chances all the time, as it's shown in the first 3 games of the season. And in those games, we're basically saying we're not going to take any points from them.
Well, I mean, is it a better tactic to make sure that you're getting as many chances as possible to increase your chances of scoring?
You need the best of both worlds.
Of course, and that's when you hit City levels.
Yeah, but we've got the personnel to do it. It's a tactical issue that we're, you know, this defensive structure that we've got, the goals that we're conceding at the moment are like schoolboy stuff at times. Mm-hmm. And like that should never be happening.
Yeah, agreed. And that's something that we'll definitely have to focus on. But it seems at the moment his priority is focusing on getting us in a position where we can score 2 or 3 times.
Why can't you
a game.
focus on both though? Why does it have to be just focusing on that or just focusing on that?
I wouldn't say it's one at a time. I'm sure we do some defensive. I mean, I assume so, but on judging
like
on the pitch, it doesn't look like it. But I would say the focus should be on that, because that's what's going to get us in position to win more games. If we concede the odd goal and win the game 3-1, then it won't matter we've conceded that goal. The most important thing is we keep creating these chances, and that's the most difficult thing to get right. That's why it's when you see in the Premier League and you see teams set up and you see teams how they play, the most difficult thing is getting your team in a position where they can consistently create chances. That's the hardest thing, which is why, you know, Man City play the way they do a lot of the time, which is why Arsenal, especially before last season, were playing the way they do, because the hardest thing is getting your team into a well-functioning machine that can create chances consistently. Any team any manager, not any manager, but a lot of managers who aren't at the top level can organise a team to defend right, and which is why you got these firefighters, Premier League managers, who all their first things to do when they come into their teams is, you know, get organised at the back, defend compactly, drop deep, low block, all this kind of stuff. You know, your Pulises, your Allardyce, your Hodgsons, all these. That's why that's their first thing. Because that's when you're battling down to the bottom, the easiest thing to fix is the defence. It's really hard when you've got teams down at the bottom to implement an attacking structure, because that's the hardest thing to implement. It takes time, it takes relationships with the players. You need to be working on that consistently to get your team to a period where they're effortlessly opening teams up and controlling games. That's the hardest thing to do, which is why managers don't come in and necessarily do that straight away. That's why he's focusing on that mostly. And I think once we get to a stage where we're playing beautiful football and we're scoring goals, then you can work on tightening those defences and making adjustments. I think that's probably how he's thinking.
I don't get that whatsoever. I think that's just excuses. Like, there is no reason for us to be conceding the level of goals that we have and the quality of goals that we're conceding. There was just no, like, how many times are our players just free? Like we pointed out in a video that we did after the first game of the season, like, how many players are just completely free at our back post? Like, there's no excuses for that.
But you see that in all the early parts of Pep's reign, Poch's reign, Arteta's reign, Klopp's reign. At the early parts, similar to the stage we are at, they were conceding very silly goals. They were conceding really stupid goals, you can say. And a lot of fans would say, wow, you're so open and all this kind of stuff. You're conceding all these silly goals. Why don't you tighten up your defence? And they didn't. They doubled down on their way of playing until it got to a stage where, okay, we're actually really good going forward now, and we're going to create loads of chances because it's second nature to these players. Now we can work on actually tightening up the defensive and not conceding these silly goals, because we know even if we tighten it up, with the system going forward is now second nature, that they can score goals even when we make other adjustments. And I think that's what Postecoglou's thinking at the moment.
But even if you tighten up the defence a little bit, and I get what you're saying, you definitely saw that at the early stages of the Pep and the Klopp and the Arteta eras and stuff like that. But I just feel like it just takes small tweaks to make our defensive structure a lot better. Just these small tweaks. You can even drop I'm not saying drop all the way deep like a Sam Allardyce and a Roy Hodgson and stuff, but just that tiny bit deeper, so you don't get caught out as easily as we're getting caught out. And it shouldn't take away that much from our attacking phase.
Those little inches can make a big difference. The reason we squeeze up so high and we do that is to put as much pressure on the opposition as possible. As soon as you drop back a bit, all of a sudden you give them more outs, you allow them a bit more of the game, and then all of a sudden you're in a bit more trouble. Whereas at the moment, we're turning up to 100 and we're really racking it up. We're putting them under pressure. And yes, we're getting caught out sometimes, but by and large, we're limiting the opposition to minimal chances. And that's the
But the chances that they do get are really good chances. And they're chances that we shouldn't be giving up.
And so then we'll work on getting those chances to be lesser. But
at the moment, what stage do we work on that then?
Once we've perfected the attack.
And how are we going to perfect the attack when we don't have good enough players in the attack to perfect it?
That's a different question. Different question. Look, and we'll have to live and die by that. But I'm banking on the fact that these players, once the system's more ingrained, will look a lot better. Hopefully, that's the plan, I guess. In this system, we'll see if we look. We know Solanke can score. We know Son's a great player. We know Johnson can get goals and assists. So so there are players there who can do it for us. Where are we? Belgian Hotspur says, personally, he's talking about the North London derby. He says, personally, I would start Sarr in the 8 and then move Decky inside if necessary. We need someone to help Biss with the counter-attacks. So he's saying...
I know that I've spoken about this so many times, and he's mainly been playing in the central areas, Kulusevski. But maybe for this one game, would you even toy with the idea of playing Kulusevski out on the right?
And to be fair, he started out on the right in the game last year and was brilliant. But the reason I wouldn't do that is because I think if Arsenal are going to play the way we anticipate, we need all the creativity we can muster in that centre.
But Kulusevski playing on the right, he is cutting in a lot inside into the central areas.
That's a problem. We need to stay wide. We need to create as much space as possible, and that means Johnson or Odebert staying and Son staying really wide, so that stretches the Arsenal defence.
But maybe instead of Porro coming into the central areas, you have him occupy the wide areas, and then Kulusevski tuck inside.
You could do that. That would mean adjusting the system, and that would, maybe he could do that for this game.
That's what I would like to see.
I think if he's not going to adjust the system, I think we need Decky in the middle. Physically he can compete with what Arsenal got to offer, whether it be Havertz or Jorginho, or I don't know who's going to play in the 8, or they play double pivot, but. I'm looking at them on the counters, and if we can make sure that Jorginho is not getting those passes off, and we can make sure that Havertz, if he's going to drop in, isn't getting space. If we can hound them and press them, then if we're going to have majority of the possession, we're going to be a lot better off with someone like Decky and Maddison together than someone like Sarr. I'll say maybe Bentancur, because I think he's better on the ball than Sarr, so I'd maybe have him more than Sarr, to be honest. But I think we need to be brave in this one. I think if we're brave and we just stick with what's been working best, which has been Decky and Maddison and Bissouma, I think that's really going to pay off dividends. And yes, there might be the odd time where Arsenal do counter on us, but I think we're going to benefit much more in possession. And it also means you got Decky linking up the likes of Solanke, playing in the ball to feet, playing those little 1-2s as well, and that could really benefit us. And I think it's going to overwhelm Arsenal a bit more than having a Bentancur or Sarr there, where all of a sudden, if they just shut down Maddison, it's going to be hard for us to break them down, I feel.
If Bissouma is out, would you consider playing Sarr in the 6? Because I would.
I would probably go with Bentancur, just because I think he's looked good in the 6 against Bayern and against Leicester. He looked all right. And he's got experience. I think he's playing pretty well at the moment. So I'd probably go with him. But look, we haven't seen Sarr on the 6, so it'd be interesting to see how he'll do that.
I think with the attributes that he has, it could work. You know, endless amounts of running, and I think that will stand us in good stead against this Arsenal midfield.
I worry about
and I feel
him.
like he can, like, yeah, I know what you're saying on the ball, but I think he's got it in his locker.
I worry about him with his back to play when we're playing out from goal kicks and we're playing it into Sarr, and he's got to turn out of trouble. I think Bentancur is going to be much more able to do that than someone like Sarr.
Yeah.
That's what I worry about.
I do feel like Bissouma is going to be vital for us in this game, though.
Yeah.
Like, you saw the performance that he had at the Emirates at the beginning of last season. You've seen how we've started the season. He's been absolutely on fire at the start of the season, as he was the start of last season. I've always questioned his consistency and if he can do it over a long stretch. But with the form that he's in, he's going to be vital. He has to be fit.
Agreed. Naziri Mam 997 says Arsenal have injuries, but it means they'll sit back and play counter because none of their forwards are injured. What some fans see as an opportunity could also be a major issue, considering teams sit back and beat us on the counter. Their defence and attack is still solid. I do agree with that. I don't agree that what could be an opportunity could be an issue, because I think they're going to sit back regardless, and I think they're going to be more effective sitting back with Rice and Odegaard, because if they get the ball to Odegaard, he's got that vision to play a very quick pass. Without him, I know Havertz did it last year. I don't think he has anywhere near the vision Odegaard does, so I'm less worried about him doing that. Yeah,
but also I know what you're saying about sitting back, but also he's the one that leads their press every single time, Odegaard.
Yeah.
He's vital for them in that phase of play, and he wins the ball back so many times high up the pitch. I'm pretty sure he did it to us a number of times at Tottenham at the back end of last season. So that is also going to be a massive element that's going to be missing from their game.
Agreed.
He's their best presser by a mile.
Yeah, he's a really good presser. So I just think whatever they try to do, whether it be sit back or go forward, it's going to be less effective without Rice and Odegaard. So regardless of if it changes their approach, I think they're just not as strong with those two players. But it doesn't mean they're weak just because they're not as strong.
They're weaker.
But they're not weak.
Agreed,
and they're still good, and they still got good players. So the last thing we should do is go into this game thinking that because they're missing Rice and Odegaard, it's now going to be an easy game, because it's far from the truth.
North London derby is never an easy game, no matter who's playing.
And Arteta's a smart coach, whatever you want to say about him. He'll find a solution. He's good at changing things and finding solutions to problems. Yes, I know, when big players are injured like Saliba, they've struggled to deal with it sometimes. But they, especially because it's only a one-off game in terms of Rice missing, I'm sure he'll come up with a solution that will make them not just as effective, but effective enough to get a result in this game. So we need to be wary of that.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Like, if Spurs can just nick an early goal here, that will put Arsenal's game plan completely out the window.
100%, because imagine them 1-0 down and then they're relying on Partey and Jorginho and Havertz in the middle to get them back in the game. Then they're in trouble. But if they go 1-0 up and they're relying on them to sit back,
if it's 1-0 up, it could cause trouble for us.
That's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
But if we break their rear guard and get an early goal, I think that could be so important to their game plan.
100%. I think that the first goal is so important in this game.
In the middle. That's why I want it. Get that early goal. Really put it on them and be brave.
All right. Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Well, that is us reacting to the comments. And I think that is it from us for the live stream today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got some pre-North London derby content with Lee Judges from AFTV. So come and join us for there. We'll be going outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to film all the content for tomorrow. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.